Today on Food News and Shoes, it's all about the beans as Chef Jeremy and Sylvia head out to Berea to talk to the seed and heirloom specialist Bill Best. Then Chef Jeremy teaches Sylvia how to string up beans and cooks up some homemade grits with leather britches. That's all today on Food News and Shoes.
Today's shoppers are informed. When shopping for the family meal, today's shopper chooses Critchfield Meats for fresh, all-natural quality meats guaranteed. Make the right choice and visit our family before you feed yours. Critchfield Meats, the meat specialist, family owned and operated since 1969. That's a grade A choice, folks.
From concessions to festivals, bingo halls to daycare facilities, Seaworth Superstore is Kentucky's largest dealer for all your weekend kitchen or mobile kitchen supply needs. From popcorn to snow cone machines, we have the largest selection of new and used equipment with warranties to help keep your mobile food truck or weekend event going strong. That's Seaworth Superstore for Sales Road, Lexington. That's Seaworth Superstore, putting the Kentucky workforce back to work.
Hey, Jeremy, we have some food news going on here today. Hey, guess what these are?
Well, they're heirloom beans, seeds.
Yeah, they're seeds. And that's what we're here today to talk about. And these could be goose beans, if they weren't what you said they were.
What exactly is a goose bean?
Well, goose bean is starting role for either a deceased wild goose, or in some folk tales, it is about a deceased turkey, where it's being dressed after it's being harvested, let's say, and in its craw are these little beans. And so children all over the South have been told that beans are goose beans.
So turkey craw beans, it's part of it's a gizzard function. And the seeds actually go into the gizzard and help them digest food.
So there you go, goose beans. But that's all about sort of the new frontier in food today, and we were with Bill Best today in his book about preserving traditions with heirloom seeds, which are what?
Well, heirloom seeds are passed down through your family or generations, basically, and they're they're used for food. It really wasn't like an heirloom. The term wasn't really one of those novelty things. It was for survival. So people grew food to eat, to preserve through the winter, and then to grow again the next year. So that's why they saved their heirloom seeds.
Yeah.
Now, but things kind of changed as agriculture grew up.
In the 20th century, we started wanting things like we wanted tomatoes in January. And shipping became very important, refrigeration. So what
increasing population, costs.
Which things we want.
We had agriculture had to come to terms and to do some things to grow.
But the pendulum kind of swung too far, didn't it?
Well,
we got away from tradition.
We were more about, okay, let's get quality instead of quantity. We weren't really worried about the flavor of our food, right?
Yeah, it could taste like cardboard, right?
Right.
Tomato cardboard,
as long as
styrofoam
it was cheap,
flavors.
Cheap and convenient.
Yeah, people loved it.
Right.
But what happened in later years is people have started demanding flavor again. And in fact, I was reading just a couple of days ago, a lot of chefs are now experimenting with seeds because as the savoriness of it, you actually can taste the difference in these like beans that we have here, just the different varieties.
You're seeing
it's a part of this whole local kind of going back to relationship building and where your food comes from, all that sort of thing, right?
And I don't know if it's like chef competition or just all about flavor or, hey, I've got things that nobody else can get, but it's really just a revitalization of your region's treasures, that have been passed down through time. And, when you go to a region and you eat a dish, it may not taste the same as it did 200 years ago when they wrote about it.
Right.
Because you're really not using the same ingredients. Even though you're in the same region, all the ingredients across the United States are pretty much the same, unless you're using good, locally grown heirlooms.
And Bill Best talks about this too, and it's a raging debate. I think that it was best put by Lee Meyer at the College of Agriculture at UK, where he talked about how we're starting to recognize in this bewildering age where people are seeking things that are sort of more that they can touch and feel, that we're really looking at technology can't solve all our problems. Well, that became the controversy, and it's called, I guess by the most common name, GMO, which basically means genetically altered in order to create say let's take a tomato, a perfectly round red.
Right.
But taste was not important, because what you do is you inject a foreign gene into whatever it is, an animal or whatever, in order to create a desired trait, or in some cases fight disease. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think a lot of that was done with good intention in terms of, okay, let's increase our food supply and get it to last longer.
Because you have long
and get it to
right?
look prettier so people would buy it. But there are also probably some other companies or some other places that have done that with ill effect, as in they want to control the food supply.
That's right.
So there's a little bit of controversy there too.
And it's being kind of debated out there.
But, you know, all it is a learning process, and now we've realized that, okay, maybe just the natural way is the right way. You know, maybe the changes in the population, not only in our waistlines, but also in our heart health or whatever you want to talk about. Maybe we had it right the first time.
Yeah. Now, heirlooms can be gotten. You'll find out later how you can get hold of those. Those are the ones that are pure and handed down. And then conventional is more like that other. Like if you go into a store and you're buying seeds in the spring, they're probably going to be called conventional. Not all of those are genetically altered, but some are. Some won't grow again. You know, and all that kind of stuff.
Then you've got organic, and then you've got
everything.
You know, there's a lot of things to talk about.
It gets crazy. But right now, today, we're dealing with something that's really pure, and we have right next door to us in Berea this iconic figure of heirlooms and his great book about, you know, goose beans and Grandma Best, and we all have one of those, right?
And we're going to learn how precious these things are, these seeds.
I love it. Those are the seeds. We'll be right back.
Why do chefs choose Lyons Farm beef?
It's consistent, it's delicious, it's got great tenderness, and it's really good for you. This nutritional element of making healthy animals for healthy eating is a big component about why their beef is so delicious. I feel so lucky to be a chef in Kentucky because the best way to express care for someone is to make them something to eat, and I get to do that every single day.
Lyons Farm beef, available at Critchfield Meats and lyonsfarm.com.
I pass Sullivan every day on my way to work, and I knew that they had a culinary program, and after researching culinary schools, you know, I found that Sullivan had a very elite program, so I wanted to be a part of it. Well, Sullivan is the perfect program for somebody who's interested in having more control over their own destiny when it comes to the culinary program. You can grow as much as you want to at Sullivan. You're not hindered by anything. With the chefs there, their knowledge is great.
Jeremy and I are heading down to Berea to see what heirloom seed saver extraordinaire Bill Best has been up to lately.
Brian and I have been shelling out cream-colored fall beans this morning, and they were picked yesterday out of the field and brought in here to dry out a little bit more. Typically, we like to pick them when they're at this stage, but these had dried up a little bit on us, and that's why we try to get them dried out just as soon as we could. But this is the sum total of all that we have of these right here.
Yeah.
But
and Brian is your grandson, right?
Brian is the grandson.
Yeah.
And he's been working with me 10 years now. But anyhow, these beans are at the shelly stage. These are called shelly beans, and the same variety right here are called dry beans. And these, of course, will be selling for seed.
Which ones do you sell for seed?
Well, once they're dry. Once they're dry, but you can see the difference. These right here, by the time they dry down, they will be like this.
Smaller.
And then we will package them, put them in the freezer where they'll be good for at least 30 years, 35 years, or indefinitely, I should say. But I've germinated them after 35 years. These, I don't like these beans. To grow these beans, I don't like to grow bush beans at all, but we do because some of them are in demand because the yield is so poor on them.
What do you mean by that?
There's so few beans on them, and climbing beans will have 15, maybe even 20 times
And the
as
little
much.
beans inside, seeds inside.
No, of the beans on the vine, of the
okay.
hulls on the vine.
Oh, okay.
They're just much more productive, but you won't find many of them being sold commercially now because they can't be picked by machine. And virtually all of the beans sold commercially have been bred to be tough so that they can be picked by machine. And then the protein, the seeds I just showed you, are not allowed to appear. They say pick while young and tender. That means the modern bean is just fodder. It's fiber and water and very little else.
Hey, Bill showed us where he dries his beans, and then he showed us his machine that separates the beans from the hulls.
And you can see the hulls come out here. The seeds drop down in the green box underneath. But
That sure does save a lot of time.
it saves a lot of time, and you can push them through a lot faster than he's pushing them through as well. Now push a few more through at once, Brian. And lift it up just a little bit. This is where you have to be careful with your fingers. Right.
Yeah, you can lose one or two.
Right. But this works very well, and when you do 3 acres or more of these, you get very tired of. The traditional way is to put them up in a sack and beat it and have a small hole at the bottom of the sack and beat it with a stick and let the seeds fall through. This way we still have to blow them out to get rid of all the dust and the chaff, but it works very, very well. Now, Brian, take that out and just show them how it's how the beans are coming in here. See, the beans are in there. Now, if you go on through, and what we have to do is just put those back in there. And it's when you're doing it quickly, you will have a few like that. But see, these are beautiful beans. They're ready to blow out and put in gallon-sized bags and stick them in the freezer.
After seeing how the beans are extracted, Bill took us out to the bean fields for a lesson on the different types of beans.
So this isn't the one you have labeled as a turkey crawl on your website?
It's very, very similar, and I tend to think that it is the same one.
Yeah.
When I take the seeds off of these, we'll find out.
Now this has got a pretty good, it's producing a lot of seeds in here, right? 5, 6?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They'll average 7 probably, and from 6 to 8 for the most part. But it's a wonderful bean.
Now, how do you prepare this bean?
Now, would you string this bean?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, the only stringless one we have is the one that you saw there. And I don't know whether the string is ready to. It's really not ready to string. This is not a full bean.
Yeah.
Traditionally, Appalachian people ate full beans. That means the seed was fully formed, and these are at least a week away from being fully formed. And you can't string them either until they're fully formed, so you'll end up with some strings. This is what is called soldier bean on the stem there. It's only got 4 on it, but it makes for easy picking. You put them all 4. But we have beans that I've seen as many as 12 beans on a stem. Usually the smaller greasy beans, you have 12 beans on a stem, up to 12.
There's a bean that you said you prefer a lot. That's the non-tough half runner, right?
Right.
And you've done a lot of work with that one bean. Was it just a big yield? Is that what it is, or just easy?
Heavy yield and very tender, and that's what I gave you them. Those
that's what those are from.
Leather britches are from non-tough. Yeah, I chose
What
those.
are greasy beans? What does that mean?
I'm going to show you right now.
Does that mean they're greasy?
That means they're slick.
Slick.
That means they're slick. And we're going to pick some for you to take with you here. This is the greasy back bean, and this is a greasy cut short right here. It was sent to us not a cut short, but it's a cornfield half runner. This is a half runner, and you can see how the bugs were really messing with us there. Those are ready to pick, and we'll be picking those
These are
later
ready.
this
They're not
week.
exactly
right here.
grown. I mean,
Right
for
here.
a chef, getting a hold of these, once you get done stringing them, which is a feat, I think I paid $70 a bushel for
Oh, that's cheap.
these. Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying we go well over 100.
And but they eat. They're
All right.
really
Now
good.
see this, and then this is ready to string, and then these are the snap beans. See the snap, but notice how large the seeds are in them. But Brian, just go ahead and pick them a bunch of these that are ready,
Okay, now how do you cook a greasy bean? What was the best way to cook it?
like he was describing a while ago with ham hock and
Just
what have you.
that's a bean recipe, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably what we're going to end up doing.
Hey Jeremy, our heads are full of bean facts. We've picked some beans and we're headed home so you can show us how to cook them up and maybe even teach me a thing or two.
The Kentucky Proud Incredible Food Show returns to Rupp Arena and Lexington Center Saturday, October 26th. It's the event of the year for anyone who loves food, cooking, or entertaining. See live demos by Food Network stars Jamie and Bobby Dean, plus more than 100 exhibitors. Tickets on sale now at all Ticketmaster outlets and online at IncredibleFoodShow.com. The Kentucky Proud Incredible Food Show, Saturday, October 26th at Rupp Arena and Lexington Center. Get your tickets now.
Now, the award-winning dishes enjoyed at Azure Restaurant and Patio can be featured at your next event when you order from Azure Catering. Our services include menu planning with our amazing food, event site location, rental equipment, linens, event staffing, and seeing to every last detail of your wedding, special event, or corporate event. Visit AzureCateringKY.com or call 859-327-7125 to start customizing your menu today.
Boy, you clean up real nice.
Well, thank you very
Getting
much.
out of that field in Berea and
Yeah.
all those beans and everything with Bill Best.
You know, that guy's just an incredible source of information, especially for heirloom
Yeah, oh, he
beans.
is.
And you know, we came back with kind of a nice little stash of gold here.
beautiful.
Greasy beans, which we talk about. You know, the chefs
And we showed us
are
those
loving,
on the vine.
loving these things.
Aren't those pretty?
They are pretty. So what we do is we need to get started on a recipe. What we're going to do is make some of these beans, and it takes a little bit of time. We're going to use a ham hock.
Tell me about a ham hock.
Ham
What
hock
that
is
thing?
basically the bottom shank of the pig. This one's been smoked. This is traditionally what you want for a nice green bean. Smoked ham hock. You can tell nice flavored ingredients. So anyway, a couple of these into a little pot of water. What we're going to do is make a foundational broth, which these beans are going to cook in. We're going to show basically how to make the lazy house, or the leather britches, really, the dried beans. But
Leather
we're also going to
britches, I love
use,
that.
a lot of people throw away their broth. We're going to utilize that.
That's where the nutrients are. Do we have to string those, Jeremy?
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of work stringing these beans and show
Uh-oh, I
people
have
how
to
to
work
dry
for
them
myself,
out.
huh?
But it's pretty
Okay.
pretty important steps. So anyway, ham hocks into a pot of water. We're going to add some fresh onion, which has been diced already. Traditionally, that's really about all people would put into their beans would be ham hock and onion and boil that down for a while.
And sort of go by taste, just sort of put in just not necessarily certain amount. I mean, you're like an expert, right?
Yeah,
What would someone
I'd
dumb
say
like
probably
me
a
do?
good, half a cup of onion there, a little bit of salt, cracked pepper would be good, and here's some garlic. You want to grab that pepper mill for us?
I think I can manage that.
A little bit of chopped garlic goes in there. Traditionally, people don't put garlic in it. I like that in mine. We're going to make something called a pot liquor out of this juice.
Pot liquor.
And that's a really
Southern
nice
term.
ingredient. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Lots of good
I'm a
cracked black
pot liquor.
pepper. And don't really hold back on this. You really want to give it a
lots of
lot of
pepper.
turn, lots of pepper.
I think pepper is underestimated, don't you? And they say it makes gravy.
Man,
Tastes really good. And
it's a great
never
ingredient.
think about it.
There's no salt without pepper. The one thing I do with it is I traditionally don't grill with it or sear with it because it becomes a little bit bitter. But finishing a dish with pepper or foundational sauces, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you can't have salt without pepper. It's just like yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
Also, fresh thyme. You need a good little half handful of that going right into the pot. Now, if you can see here, it's kind of a beautiful melange of ingredients.
Olfactory, or whatever you want to say, nose. I love smelling these things.
The idea behind a recipe like this is you want to take the beans and just cook them for hours and let these reconstitute in the broth and take on all these ingredients. So what we want to do is get
these are what these become, right?
That's right. That's what they become. First thing you want to do, we're going to get this on the stove and go for a good hour before we add the beans. That really develops the stock. All these flavors are stratified in the broth. All the flavors are mixed, and it's just going to be a nice stock. We're also going to use this stock before we add the green beans to make our grits for this recipe. So this goes onto the stove, and we'll start a foundation here.
Okay.
Okay, now it's grit time. We use a stone ground grit from the south. Instant grits just will not do. We have to have
the real thing.
Have the real thing.
Okay.
And our nice, smoked ham hock broth is going. Lots of fresh onions and thyme and garlic. It's really developing. You can see it kind of get cloudy and lovely. Classical French cooking can tell you to simmer, but down in the south, we just, this is just something you boil down.
Yeah.
So some good grits, right?
Start with butter.
Good heap of butter right into the pan. You're gonna let that kind of get melted up.
Do you use pure butter or
unsalted butter? That way we know that there really isn't any salt in there for preservative, but also for flavor standpoint. Your salted butter, you never know the ratio of salt.
Oh, okay. So you always get unsalted.
Change.
And then you can always add.
You can always add salt at the. I like to season at the end. So a good wooden spoon, get that butter going.
Wooden spoon. What's important about a wooden spoon?
I don't know, just something a little bit sexy about the way it moves.
I thought there was some big scientific reason.
The way it works. Risottos, grits, those kind of porridges, I like wooden spoons for. See how much character this one has? It's shredded now. It's got a little burn.
Actually, it does kind of seem better.
It's well loved.
Yeah.
Some fresh garlic goes right into the butter. Now the thing about when you're adding aromatics like onion and garlic is you really want to let these take off in the butter. So you can already start to smell that. That's the perfume.
You got it boiling, so it's got kind of on higher heat.
It is kind of a high heat. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit.
Okay.
We don't really want browning, but we do want to let that cook for a good minute or so. Let's see how it's just sizzling and perfuming the butter. We got that.
Smells so good.
Nice little bit of yellow onion in there. I'd say that was a good 3/4 of a cup.
Is that a sweet onion?
It is. Well, it's a sweeter onion than, say, a white onion. This is just a yellow Spanish onion, pretty much the most common onion you find at the grocery. Nothing really special there.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people would really brush through this step. I want to develop these flavors, so let this go. Keep stirring. Give it a good 5 minutes. Let everything get translucent. So we'll just kind of sit here and we'll cook. It's amazing. So now that we have the onions where I like them, a little bit translucent, moving, they're kind of dancing around in a little party here. We go ahead and start adding our broth from
that stock.
From the stock, right?
Boiling away.
Now, a good ratio for grits is about. I like to go about 4 to 1 in terms of broth to grits. So we need a good amount of this.
4 to 1.
As in broth and to grits. We're going to add a good amount of broth here. Just keep adding it.
Yeah. Are you keeping count? That's why I can't cook.
Well, it kind of meant by volume ratios.
Math never was good, yeah.
I do want to keep this boiling here, though, so we don't lose any momentum. So I think that's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So this is boiling. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce it with just a little bit more fresh thyme. I'm going to let that kind of roll in there. I love the way thyme perfumes grits and pastas and grains. We do have to pick this out later, but anyway, you can already start
Any
to
other herb
smell
that you can use besides thyme?
Anything you want, fall or spring, it just depends on what feel you want. Sage would be amazing, good old southern food. A little bit more butter in there.
Okay.
And then we're going to stir in some grits.
And then okay, so that's the ratio piece, right?
Yeah, and I'm not going to use all this. We'll actually give a little bit more accurate descriptions on the screen website here, but a little bit of grits to take on that stock.
And then, so this boils until the grits absorb the liquid.
And you want to stir pretty occasionally. I mean, every 2 to 3 minutes. Give them a stir. I'm going to turn this down quite a bit. I do want to see some bubbles, but not a whole lot of this violent action here.
Tell me what happens
Everything
now.
came together. We've got amazing creamy grits, greasy beans that they were dried. Now they're cooked. The ham hock is in there. We've got a nice pot liquor broth, which is just it's killing me with the fumes are awesome.
All right, now
so
what?
This is just a great little country style dish. See how these grits just kind of fall
they are
into the bowl.
creamy.
Lots of good fresh thyme. I'm going to pick out that twig because we don't want to serve that. But, it's kind of nice to have it in there.
Okay, so you
because
just
they
add
flavored
them on
the
bowl.
dish so well. So we'll take this little
Are you
piece
better
of
off
time.
doing it in a bowl like setting like this?
Oh yeah, a plate's just gonna not contain all the good, all that goodness of those grits, you know, coming down like that. So a little bit of these greasy beans. See that ham hock in there?
Yeah, I
And,
do.
you know,
It's lucky it's made it this far without
put
me
it
eating
delicately down.
Uh-huh.
Stack those up, and this is just as good and southern as it gets. But
It's
you know,
already
the
looking
thing
so
is
good.
it's just so. The ingredients are so pristine. We've got that poached egg we did.
Oh, yeah.
We'll kind of bring that out and kind of put that down to where we can delicately lay it right on top, because we're going to poke in there and it's going to sauce the whole dish, right?
Yeah.
So once we have that in place,
And we got
I'm just going to, you know, act like it's a kind of a garden dish. Well,
Yeah.
you know, a nice good old
Big old
slice
mater.
of a southern tomato, right?
Look how red that thing is.
And I've got to have a little salt on that. You know, don't forget to put a little salt on your tomato, right?
Absolutely.
So a little bit of this down in here. And then maybe a little pickle.
Nutty,
You
nutty.
know, if you got some pickled vegetables in the house, garnish with them. Okra or onion or green bean, you know, like a green bean two ways here. I've just got a little bit of red onion. And do pickled there too.
How
And
do
the
you
last
pickle?
thing,
What's it in?
A little red wine vinegar and sugar. Little things I keep around just to kind of put garnishes on things. And then a little homemade hot sauce for me.
Me too.
And this is like a whole other episode we got to do. There's chilies and hot sauce and
Is this
how to
homemade?
make- yeah.
Or do you,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you can find some really good sauces, you know, and Kentucky kind of stuff.
So you
People
know,
are doing a lot of value-added products, in fact.
there's a wonderful little dish there
That's
with all
so
these garden
pretty.
products, and man, is that going to be comforting when you just dig in there. And
I want to dig in. Where's
it's
a
so
where's
good.
A,
I've got a
something?
spoon with some hot sauce on it. But
Yummers.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let's do it. Got to get all the ingredients in there.
Yep.
Okay, now
There you go.
a bean, a little bit of a tomato.
There you
All right,
go.
How do you? Oh, we were going to poke the egg.
I'll take care of that part, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
See if that's kind of, see how it's saucing right into the bowl? That's what you're looking for, a little egg, a lot of tomato and bean.
That is so good. Yummers. Good.
That's like a perfect southern brunch.
I'm going to taste these grits too, just a little bit on their own.
And there's just something about that. There's history in that bowl. You know, there's just
There is history in that bowl, and Bill Best thanked people like him who
Yeah.
are bringing that tradition back,
it
bringing
is
taste
okay.
together.
And, you know, and it's also just a variation of what's been done in the past. Pickles and vinegars and hot sauce, and it all comes
It's
together.
just kind of making it all come together.
and
which
going
is
back for
okay.
more. You know,
Yeah,
why not?
we'll be back.